Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of The Strain, Gone But Not Forgotten. And I gotta say, this is one of the weakest episodes of the series so far, and I really did not like it. There were some interesting developments, but overall, it just didn't really go anywhere. I mean, it just wasn't very well written, and certain characters acted very strangely, in my opinion, and it just didn't work right. So we got the fallout of the last episode. Everybody's assuming that the Master's dead. Quinlan went in thinking this was a suicide mission. So we see Ephraim patching him up, talking to himself like, well, looks like your whole suicide mission didn't work out since you're still alive and you're healing pretty freaking fast. So he's kind of finishing that up, goes kind of outside where Satrakian and Fett are kind of celebrating. Satrakian's kind of like, I can't believe I did it. I am happy. But he still has that lingering doubt that it's occurred. That's like, oh, here we go, getting drinking and everything, and he's like, yeah, we did it. Now we can just go after the Munchers like the rodents that they are, and we'll be done with this. And then Ephraim talks to them about that he was the one who let Quinlan take the book, that he was doing it for his son. And Satrakian's like, well, why didn't you come to me with this? And it's like, he pretty much heavily alluded to something to that effect, pretty much. I mean, the character communication for this and them being kind of pissed at each other, it's like, really kind of stupid. I mean, Satrakian, I think, would emphasize with F that he's trying to get his son back. And yes, he would do something kind of very bad for the whole kind of effort against the Master overall, as in using the Aceto Lumen as bait for the Master, but that also works to their advantage. Because even if there is something in the Lumen that could defeat the Ancients and the Master, then it's very good bait to use for a very good trap, and that essentially occurred. And then Satrakian's talking with Quinlan, talking about, well, are you sure that you were supposed to die? Because if that's the case, we don't think the Master's dead. And they go off and pretty much confirm that with the Ancients, and they're talking about like, well, if you didn't kill the big red worm, which we all saw, he's not dead, he's just weakened. And it's like, oh, okay. And then Quinlan's like, wait a minute, he didn't even know about that. And it's like, yo bros, that would have helped me. And it's like, is this really going on? Really? You would train for thousands of years to kill your father, and you wouldn't know every kind of weakness he has, or at least attempt to study and hash out as many weaknesses as possible, and that the biggest thing, other than chopping off his head to pretty much kill him, you wouldn't figure out that the big kind of red worm, the big main part of his parasitic organism, should have been killed. And it's just like, no, why? That's just prolonging this instead of making it work. And then him and Satrakian go off and they're like, alright. So, they're doing that. Dutch then comes back because Ephraim's at the place that they used to crash, and her character just, I don't know why it's on, to be honest with you, because they aren't doing really anything except kind of setting her up as another potential love interest for F, now that Nora's dead and Kelly is turned. But even so, they're not doing anything with the character to make anyone invested in her whatsoever. Even the main cast of people around doing stuff doesn't seem that interested to be talking with her, and she barely has the skills to get through a regular Strigoi encounter. It's just like, okay, so she's telling about her sob story about all her friends dead and being drunk and all that, and they kind of have their little bonding stuff. And it's just like, okay, that kind of works. And then we kind of get stuff on the Strigoi front, kind of figuring out what's going on with them. So evidently, without the Master's continual influence, they're all kind of going crazy. Zack almost gets eaten by one of the Strigoi, but luckily his mom came in and killed it pretty quickly. And we get to see that the base Strigoi, the pretty much cannon fodder, they just are pretty much fully defeated. Those that the Masters let retain a higher intelligence, such as Kelly and Eichhorst, have better control, but they are still unnerved by the lack of control from the master. So Kelly's like, okay, you're okay, Zach, and then Icor's like, alright, you strike back. So this is where one of the stupidest things really happened in the episode. He made allusions to making these other Strigoi into suicide bombers and making allusions to like Islamic terrorists with like the 70 virgin bloods and using them as C4 and having them blow themselves up in Justine for Aldo's headquarters. It was just really crappily, shittily done and was kind of just poorly written, poorly executed, and just overall wrong in my opinion. It was like, there could have been other ways to go about this, and it was just like, you didn't have to do that. And it's really kind of just ham-fisted and just really stupid to do. And it was kind of a stupid plan to begin with. I mean, the base plan of blowing up a Strigoi to spread the infection, yeah, that didn't do jack shit. It almost infected Justine as the worm we got into her eye, but that burned it while it was going in, which begs the question, why the fuck isn't anybody else doing that? To anybody, like, oh, just put the light on it and burn it like right under the skin, you'll be okay. Nobody else has done that, because F eventually came in, checked her out, and she's alright. It's like, okay. And as we were seeing with Justine, she had learned about the chain gangs of people being pressed into service to fight the Strigoi and how they're getting screwed over. So that way it brought Gus and Angel into her kind of sphere, and then nothing really happened from that. And after this kind of scare, she had been interviewed by this group about the chain gang, and then went in, arrested the reporting woman, and took all their stuff and pretty much became a dictator. And it's like, what is this doing to serve the plot? I understand it's to show that, oh yes, for public safety we've got to do all this kind of stuff, but it's got to be better executed than just like this. It's just like what they were doing with the Icor's thing and making the Suicide Strigoi. It's not well done and not well executed and shouldn't really have been done to begin with. I'm just looking at it thinking, how did this get by some people? And it was just overall not a really good episode in my opinion. Characters weren't acting right. Scenes just weren't clicking. It just was like overall a very bad episode, and it just, I'm probably going to give this one more episode for review, but this season really just screwed the pooch in my opinion, and I don't know what they're trying to accomplish now. So, those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.